Lady, the problem isn't in my pants. Mex-Men.
Speaking of segues.
You ever rode one?
Nope.
Lame.
If he rode one, he'd be immediately mistaken for a mall cop.
Who wouldn't be mistaken for a mall cop riding
Every
a
time you
Segway?
ride one. They don't go fast enough to do anything.
No, I just mean like men of our size and mainly belly girth should never be on a Segway if we didn't want to be called Paul Blart.
That's what I always tell the ladies. You know how girthy my belly is?
Is that your pickup line?
Yeah, and then they never talk to me again.
Might want to rework that one.
I only have 5 restraining orders out on me.
You're like, it never works. I just keep trying it. It's bound to work.
Eventually, one's just going to feel sad for me.
Impressively, 3 of those restraining orders was during this Corona time period. It's like, how do they even get through the courts?
It's like, why'd they even feel the need?
Because right now you just mail it in. Just too close without a mask. I got you 3.
So Moira McTaggart,
What about her?
her face doesn't stay consistent. Well, you know what? Not her face, her hair.
Whose face stays consistent? You have facial expressions, and you're not making the same smile all
No,
the
I
time.
mean in this book, her hair is changing constantly.
Is it?
Yeah. And then Cyclops' face isn't the same. It's always different.
I'm like, because
Except for the surprise looks. He's got like the
same.
best surprise looks.
quick theory, because every time we see her, it's through that little video.
Oh, yeah.
Continuity errors, not an issue with the art. She is the one responsible for her hair like how her hair kept changing, because she did the video in several takes.
Ah.
So
So she's like a person with a bad TikTok.
you mean a person with a TikTok?
Yeah.
We're far too old to be the demographic for TikTok.
Dude, there are so many older people on TikTok. It's crazy.
Bob Saget's on TikTok.
Also,
my God.
apparently, Chinese platform that's trying to steal all your data. So,
Yeah. Have you seen
Because they would need TikTok to do that, right? That's the only way it can happen.
well, it's a really easy way for it to happen.
But only TikTok.
Are you saying this or what? What's going on here?
I just think it's ridiculous.
Okay.
That whole thing through TikTok, it's like, if that was going to happen, it could happen through multiple apps, not just TikTok.
No, that's true.
It is
but
happening.
It is happening through multiple apps. Yeah.
Facebook on a regular basis commits treason.
Do they?
Yes. They sell our information to the Russians.
That's crazy. You think people would have less of a problem with it if it was like, it still counted towards your views and likes on videos? Like if they sold your information to the Russians, then it's just like your page that they're sharing to the Russians.
That gives you a like.
Like if they share the information for this podcast and we just got like a shit ton of downloads.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Share our
Yeah,
that's
share our information in the sense of like it's our show and we want people to hear it.
We just got to give permission, then it's legit. It's legit.
Like, hey, Russians, we like Colossus.
Yes.
Ilyana's one of our favorite characters.
We've talked about Black Widow before.
I mean, negatively, but
Yeah, when she got whooped by Ilyana, but
Hey.
she's Russian too, so that's okay.
We said the trailer looked cool.
It did look good. I
The
was looking
movie's
forward to
still
that.
not out.
yeah.
But that's because the world ended.
I was surprised
Yeah.
at how good that movie looked, actually.
I am just excited to see Taskmaster
Right.
whenever that happens. And I hope they don't ruin him.
I look
Can't say
forward to
much. They didn't show much about him in the trailer, so
A boot.
about him.
A boot him.
Welcome to Canadian Men. Well, welcome to this issue of Mex-Men. I'm Tony.
I'm Justin.
I'm Devin.
And today we're going to be going over issues 4 through 6 of Deadly Genesis, which would be our part 2.
Yes,
Of Deadly Genesis.
You guys are really bad at the intro part.
that's the point. Man.
Yeah.
It's only been 51 episodes.
It's gonna keep going.
Almost a year.
You hear that, guys? This podcast is not going to get any better.
You can look forward to this.
Yeah.
Consistently
Consistent.
bad.
It's like a cheesy movie that you love.
Except we're free. And you
Yes.
can share us with your friends, and we're still free.
You know what? And even if they're Russian, as you've just heard. We're cool with
We'd
that.
love to break into that demographic.
Yeah.
Share us over there.
Yeah.
There are more Russian X-Men than there are Mexican X-Men, and we are a Mexican X-Men podcast.
There's one Mexican X-Men.
No, 2, right? Richter?
No, Richter's not an X-Men, though.
Oh, he was.
Was he? Really? Or was he always just a tangential mutant that, like, kind of knew him?
I feel like
He was definitely an X-Factor.
y'all
Yeah, he was
are
an
way
X-Factor.
too strict on your definition of what makes you an X-Men.
Did he get a suit?
I feel like if you are a part of New Mutants or X-Factor, you are an X-Man.
Did they used to have a penis?
I know where you're going with this, and we don't talk about Bruce Jenner.
I don't think X
I
Factor.
wasn't gonna at all.
I don't think X Factor counts.
You are just saying that because you don't want to accept Deadpool.
I don't think he was even in X Factor.
I don't think...
He is an X-Factor.
Are you thinking X-Force?
No, X-Factor 2.
No.
Well, X-Force 2 is one that definitely counts, but he was in New Mutants and then X-Factor.
He appeared in New Mutants. He wasn't a New Mutant.
He was in New Mutants. I never said he was a
in
New
the
Mutant.
book. Well, that's like saying
He's not a mutant.
That's like saying Cecilia Reyes is an X-Man.
Moira McTaggart is an X-Men.
No, she's in the book. She's not an X-Man.
She's a present woman.
That's sexist. Just because she's
in
a
the
lady.
book. She is not a part
not
of
a
the
mutant.
X-Men team. She does not suit up and go when the X-Men go.
Are you talking about contemporary, or are you talking about in general? Because, like, right now, I think that's a weirder... Like, because what defines an X-Man now in Hickman's run?
It's kind of weird in Hickman's run, you're right.
Yeah, because basically any mutant that goes out and does shit for the sake of the mutants of Krakoa is kind of an X-Man.
Yeah, like Marauders, X-Men.
Yeah.
Fucking Excalibur,
X-Men.
X-Men. Apocalypse right now, X-Men.
Yeah. Like, Hickman just decided, fuck this. Like, he decided, fuck this argument that we're having right now.
Yeah.
And he decided to make all mutants X-Men months
All
ago.
people, X-Men.
That is true.
Everyone's an X-Men.
It is more
if
weird
it's
now.
in your heart.
But like Quicksilver was an X-Factor, never an X-Men. I'm not going to say Quicksilver was an X-Men.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I agree with you, except for maybe the first iteration of X Factor.
With
With
they
the actual,
were the
they
X-Men.
were the
Yeah,
X-Men.
that was just the X-Men.
Yeah,
That was the 05 pretending to be mutant hunters or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, X-Force is definitely a X-Men team. Just saying.
Well, sort of,
An X-Men
because
team
even
that the X-Men
then,
don't like and get all pissed off about. So yeah,
But you said they're an X-Men team.
no, I was being.
You just said
I was
but you
sarcastically-
said they were an X-Men team.
What you said.
I mean, they were assigned to do what they do by Cyclops while leading the X-Men.
and you know what? That leads into my argument for why Deadpool is not an X-Men, because that was when.
I'm not saying he is an X-Man. He's close enough. That's
So you're bending to close enough.
that's all I've ever close. He's close enough. He is as much of an X-Men character as Venom is a Spider-Man character right now.
I don't know. I don't know that.
It requires a lot of thinking.
That requires, yeah, because I'm not familiar with Venom's story entangling into Spider-Man's currently. Like, I don't know the association that well. I mean, obviously, I know Venom comes out of Spider-Man.
It's barely there.
I would disagree.
It's pretty much like Venom's story right now is basically how Deadpool worked until like the 2000s. And even then, Deadpool still kind of works like that. He's super X-Men related. He is not an X-Men, but everything he does pretty much revolves around the X-Men. And then he has like...
But that's like saying Avalanche is an X-Man.
Yeah. But like
But he's not.
We could talk about Avalanche.
Deadpool's not even a mutant, though.
Yeah, but he's made from a mutant.
Gross.
He gets his powers from Wolverine.
I think that's the problem. If he was a mutant,
It sounds like you said a Wolverine.
Just a Wolverine.
any Wolverine.
All of
They
them.
just have a Wolverine in a cage.
They do. That's what Weapon X is.
I mean the animal.
I saw X-Men Apocalypse. That's what Wolverine is. He's just an animal.
I mean, if you grabbed a Wolverine straight out of a National Geographic production and threw it in a cage, and they just like had syringes and hoses coming from that little Wolverine into like one of those containers they had Logan in when they were making him Weapon X, but it was Deadpool instead.
I'm picturing an adorable actual Wolverine breaking out of that cage, and he's got that metal helmet with straps.
Fucking Deadpool comes out and he kind of looks like Blanca.
So,
just all the hair.
So like the Origins movie?
Like the Street Fighter movie.
Yeah, well. Yeah, like the Street Fighter movie.
So what happens in Deadly Genesis?
Yeah, so much stuff. Starting with...
Thank you for listening to this one. I'm glad we got around to that.
It's how we celebrated a 50th episode.
Yep.
It's just meandering about the 51st one. So yeah, Moira is asleep, and then she's woken up by Xavier in her mind, because that's not creepy. And he's like, you up? And she's like, it's not like you could do anything about it.
It's one of those things where it's like, how long you been watching? All night.
He starts singing Lionel Richie.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm about to be at your place. And she's like, what? And he's like, I'm outside. And he gets out of the cab. And I was thinking, because when he hands the guy the money, because the guy's like, that'll be $50. And he gives him, is like, keep the change. It's like, that doesn't even look like money. Like, is he just fucking with him in his mind? Just like, think it's a bunch of money.
I wouldn't
Monopoly money.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Xavier. Maybe it's just Canadian money.
So, he says that's $54. He's like, keep the change. I like to think Xavier gave him 55.
Right?
And thought he was badass. Like, keep the change.
He's like, thank you for the whole dollar.
Dick.
And then she's all like, so stupid of her to be like, get out of the rain or you'll catch your death. And it's like, he's in a wheelchair. He can only get through the rain so fast. Like, it was so weird for her to, like, rush him.
Also, if you flip Xavier in his wheelchair onto his back, he'll drown in the rain.
It's so dark.
He just keeps his mouth open. He's like a fucking ostrich.
So anyway, he's there because he's got some terrible news, and
The courts found out what I did.
So
They looked at my Snapchat.
I thought it erased and took screenshots.
Turns out my dick's also in a wheelchair.
He dresses it up.
It's like a finger puppet.
Sometimes I make it look like a cowboy.
It's good. A little
They actually do sell Halloween costumes for your dick that you could buy.
Oh,
Which,
why do you know this?
because I looked into it.
Because I have a few.
I've been to your Halloween parties, Justin. And I have a Magneto helmet that goes right on the head of my shaft.
Man. Anyway, the story starts as sort of a narrative into Moira's life at the time, and you see that it's actually Beast and Wolverine. They're looking at the footage that was recovered when Banshee was killed, and Moira's going through why Xavier's a fucking asshole, and they're surprised by Nightcrawler too. Like, that was a weird thing.
That was weird. Like, both of them with their heightened senses couldn't tell that Nightcrawler was immediately behind them.
Well,
It's
because
like-
he was a little bit in a shadow.
Yeah, so apparently you can't smell him or hear him either.
But they're like guys who smell. Like, I get
Yeah.
the seeing thing. Like, you
They
can't
hear
see him.
too.
Yeah.
And you
got
definitely
ears.
smell that sulfur that sticks in his fur. Like, you know he smells like farts all the time.
That's really why no one likes him. It has
It's the
nothing to do
unstable
with his
molecules, though. It probably dissipates the fart smell.
In his face?
It's just in his face.
That is a weird thing about this book, though, is that it seems like they're focusing on Nightcrawler to be the through line of the actual giant size X-Men issue and this. Like, he's the only guy going, hey, remember Krakoa? Hey, remember when we went to that island and we did stuff the first time we met Xavier? You guys remember when we met Xavier? Do you touch you guys' butts too? Like,
No, just me?
I bet his wiener also has, like, the hook like his tail does.
but he seems to be like the guy who keeps like trying to connect the two, and who seems to like he's a detective or something. They always go in on a close up of Nightcrawler where he's just like, huh.
But like almost everybody or like half the people in the book were on Krakoa.
Yeah.
Like Wolverine is right in that room with him. But he has memory issues.
I wonder if like Beast this whole time is just like, yeah, that time on Krakoa where I totally didn't help you guys because I was howling around with the Avengers instead.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, though, there had to have been in Beast's head somewhere where he's like, all right, so they sent the X-Men team on Krakoa. They got kidnapped. Cyclops comes back. They find new X-Men. They send them. They don't come back. They get a new group of X-Men. Send them. Not once did that wheelchair bald motherfucker call me.
Yeah.
I was on the team.
Well,
But was he? Or was he just like, you know what, Beast? Join another team. Why don't you? You're dead to me. And it's just a grudge that Xavier was holding all this time.
he wrote him off.
I'd rather murder a whole school full of children than call Beast.
I feel like Beast was like, yeah, can you just leave my room how it is? I'll be back. And then Xavier took all his shit and put it outside at the curb.
I know, like, he should have, like, beakers and a bunch of scientific shit out there, but I just picture, like, a tire swing.
But yeah, it is weird because he could have called, like, the Avengers or any other heroes. He's like, I need kids. Children.
I'll age them in their mind.
It's he puts out a cat post. Just a bunch of animal toys.
They're the only ones who responded to my Craigslist ad. Normally I've got a lot of feedback on those.
But anyway, so it's revealed that those three are the ones looking at the tape that Banshee was bringing, and she goes on to talk about why Xavier is such a dick. So he's like, I lost my X-Men. They're in danger. With Cerebro, I can tell they're still alive, but I need some force to help me rescue them. I need your students. And then she's like, well, they're not my students. They're not really even my students. They're just people I'm helping. And I'm helping them in exchange. They're helping me with my research on mutation. And she's like, well, you're just going to have to ask them yourself. Meanwhile, Scott and Rachel are freed, sort of. Like, they're just suddenly not, like, strapped to the Earth, slates of Earth that they were bonded to.
Yeah, they just seem to have, like, magically
fallen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rachel gives exposition to why that is. She's like, he's finally slipping, like, talking about Vulcan. Like, he has so much power all of a sudden and doesn't know how to use it. So this is our break to get out of here. And they get out of, or you know what? That doesn't even happen yet. Because this story cuts back and forth so much. But they discover that, like, Vulcan has issues. Like, he's not omnipotent. Meanwhile, back at the whole Moira's recording message to herself thing, we're introduced to all of her not students.
Yeah.
So you see Sway training and Petra training
I
and
still
Darwin.
picture that dude who has the rap radio station.
Oh, yeah, Sway in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him training, he's just like on a couch talking to Xavier.
He's just trying to press buttons.
just working out his broadcasting skills.
He's like exercising one finger to press all the buttons.
The obstacles are the wires come out of the switcher on him. He's got to grab them and
he's got to untangle the wires.
Anyway, so you see that Xavier has sort of met with all these students because he helped design their training. And then, for example, Sway is dealing with like a bunch of projectiles shooting at her, and she like slows down time around the larger ones and then has to dodge the smaller ones, which is kind of weird. You think it'd be the other way around because you think the smaller ones would be faster and the bigger ones would be slower, so they'd be easier to dodge. I just thought that was weird. That was weird writing.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense when you see the picture because she's using the big ones to climb on, which would be harder to do on the small ones.
Are you always climbing on the big ones?
You know it.
And then Petra is like just using energy powers because that's what she's got. She's an earthbender.
Yeah. Fucking nerd.
Yeah, and then Darwin's just chilling.
Yeah, he's just being lit on fire.
Yeah.
You know, like this training thing. It's like just smiling and being lit on fire.
So
Is this it?
Professor Xavier's just like, oh my lord, he's so hot.
How old is he again?
yeah, it's funny that his training is just like, really? That's not killing them either?
Light him on fire.
And then it shows Vulcan, and Vulcan just looks cool because he's like the leader of this group, so to speak. So, then Xavier finally goes to them and he asks them directly for help. And Vulcan's like, wait a minute. So this mean we get to be X-Men if we go with you? And he's like, well, yeah, you get to be X-Men. And he's like, fucking yes, something Deadpool's never going to be. Those words verbatim.
They said the
Vulcan.
same thing about Deadpool being an Avenger. So be careful what you wish for.
So
Haven't
anyway,
seen him on Krakoa, I was gonna say.
Yeah, because he also hates mutants.
Can't get past that gate.
You can just swim to the island. You know there's
can.
going to be a storyline that he just goes to the island at some point. But right now, he has his own island.
Oh, okay.
Staten Island.
Staten Island's his island?
Yeah, he's the king of monsters, and they all just took over Staten Island.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so anyway.
So he's basically Pete Davidson.
Huh. Okay, then.
He's king.
I know, it's the movie.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I know.
He's also will show up in What We Do in the Shadows.
What? He did?
He can.
Oh, he
Because
can.
they're all in Staten Island.
Oh, he can show up.
Yeah, you ever heard of the extended Staten Island universe?
No, I haven't. Anyway, which would be funny because What We Do in the Shadows is about monsters.
Yeah.
And so it just ties in what you just said even more about Pete Davidson being Deadpool.
Because he's a monster. Pete Davidson is a monster.
Is he?
You know he is. He's just waiting to get Me Too'd.
Is he?
Come on. You're telling me he's not a perv?
I don't know. He seems like just a lucky stoner. Well, unlucky at first. Like the universe was like, first we're gonna fuck your life, but then we'll make it better with comedy and people liking you for reasons they can't describe.
I'm just saying I could see him and Chris D'Elia hanging out.
Oh, man. Anyway, so Xavier takes the students back to the mansion to train.
Yep.
And
Groom. So I could do so much grooming in a couple hours, making him think it's 6 months of grooming.
Yeah. So Moira gets there and she learns that Xavier hasn't actually been training them literally just only in the mindscape, and that and you see months are going by where they're training. One of and it's sort of like a training montage where they're in the danger room and then they're just hanging out in the school. Like they really are believing that all this time is taking place consecutively over a normal length of time. Like you see them having a picnic and whatnot and bonding and building camaraderie.
He makes it work like the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah. But there's a moment in the danger room that makes no goddamn sense to me where Vulcan is speaking to Darwin like, look out. Like Darwin wasn't going to be fine. Like of all the guys who need to be saved by Vulcan.
It's like when Morph tried to save Wolverine. Wasn't that an animated show? He got himself killed.
Yeah. Like dummy. That is Darwinism. That is
He's gotten a Darwin Award.
that is getting rid of the weak so that the strong may thrive.
So yeah, Xavier's lying to him. He doesn't let them know that he's actually speeding up their training or whatever.
Yeah.
And Moira's like, "Oh, do they know this?" Like, truth?
What does that matter?
You can't groom a child if they know what you're doing.
I would never.
So she's really angry at him about that, and he's like, it's what's necessary because my X-Men don't have long. And she just goes with it because, yeah, like, there's impending doom, and while she believes that this is wrong, it's got to be something, and so she's trusting Xavier that this is going to be okay. And so, yeah, and they train for months. In reality, it's only days.
This is how Xavier's acting, though, and I want to point it out because we read, what was it? Schism. And Wolverine's, like, really not about having the kids fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
And Xavier is all about it.
All about it.
Yep.
And he's like, Wolverine's bigging up Xavier and trying to, hold his name. And Xavier was all about sending those kids because he's like...
It was his one thing.
Yeah.
It was that and wheelchairs. Those were his two things. That it was sending children to die and riding around in Hot Wheels.
Those children needed to know how to fight like soldiers for him and also fluff his pillows and tuck them in.
And fix his blanket.
Yeah.
I was not expecting you to say pillows.
Moira says, how can you put these children at risk? He's like, well, they won't be children for long. Yeah, when I'm done with them.
Did you see the costumes I got them?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Darwin's like, doesn't leave much to the imagination. You think he's looking at Petra, but he's actually just looking at his own bulge. Like, they all know now.
It's like really tight in the crotch region.
But what if his powers even work in terms of saving his kind of social life, right? Like just his place in society. So suddenly, like his shaft just grew longer.
He's really filling out that uniform.
Just so that, like, oh, now I won't be embarrassed because I no longer have a small penis.
Halfway down his leg.
And then he finds out that's too big, so it goes up.
Survival of the thickest.
But yeah, this is a perfect example just because Xavier could have got anybody, any other hero, adults, anybody to save these kids, but
he does. He goes and gets a bunch of adults.
Yeah, afterwards.
Maybe
the kids aren't working.
Pretty fucking fast.
Yeah, super experienced. Like Wolverine is indestructible and was working for the government. Like a lot of training. Nightcrawler didn't really have training, but Storm was a goddess.
Yeah, Storm was a goddess.
Colossus is indestructible.
Whoa. Nightcrawler, no training?
Well, in the Munich Circus.
The Munich Circus. So he's Robin at that point. And Robins are notorious for how often they die.
Well, one super allergic to crowbars.
Yeah.
The others are fine. Damien was killed and was brought back.
Yeah, so he'd make a perfect X-Men.
Yeah. Anyway, so the message ends there, conveniently, and they're like, "Oh no more of this message from Moira." And Beast's like, "Well, honestly, we're lucky we got what we did. It's a fucking cassette tape, and it was in a plane crash. So maybe chill out, Nightcrawler." And Wolverine's like, "So I wonder where that team is." And Nightcrawler's like, "No, Wolverine, the question is, what happened to that team?" Ooh.
You know what? I agree with them being pissed off that Beast wasn't able to put together that whole message.
Sure.
Because he put together a whole person.
He's a science guy.
Yeah, Emma Frost was shattered in a million pieces, and he put her back together.
Well, that was just a puzzle.
So was the tape.
I guess.
It was an easier puzzle.
Isn't a tape,
Tape.
What is a tape?
It's a tape. It's a tape.
No, I mean, what makes the tape? Like, isn't it like, a
reel of images?
Yeah, it's burned images on there. It's just like...
No, how they put the sound on it, though.
I don't know.
Magic?
Magnets?
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the hell, magnets work?
No, you ever seen a record work?
Yeah, but that makes sense. Those are grooves that, like, when the needle rubs against it.
Don't act like that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, though. That the grooves, like, when the needle rubs against it, creates the sound, and then it amplifies the sound when you have that tube thing coming from it. A tape, though, I'm not sure how the sound comes off of a tape.
I would
But
assume it's similar.
what if something in the plane crash like made it so that sound couldn't come off the tape? Then it's not just a puzzle of images.
I think you're making excuses for Beast.
I'm really not, because I was actually wanting to shit on him for a different thing.
You're,
Did he fuck up your Marvel Unlimited?
No, because I had the trade, so I was just reading the trade.
I like to think Beast is super smart with science stuff, but horrible at technology.
Like he can't use a VCR.
Yeah. He's got to like call somebody younger to sign him on.
That's the plot of all new X-Men.
He can't use an iPhone because he's all thumbs. Like his fur gets in the way of like it picking up the heat sensor of his fingers.
I would assume his fingernails are too long.
Oh,
Because regular people have that issue.
Like his Facebook picture is that generic old guy photo where it's like from underneath.
But he's only like 38.
Which is so funny because he is constantly drawn like the Kelsey Grammer Beast in this. So he does kind of look like an older white guy Beast.
But
Which in a sense is what he is. He's an old white guy.
wasn't this before the Kelsey Grammer Beast?
Maybe.
Because this is 2005.
I don't remember when X3 came out.
I think it's 2006.
Wow.
They predicted Kelsey Grammer.
Wow. You know what?
Not as Beast, just the person.
Like Kelsey Grammer didn't exist until 2006.
Yeah.
Anyway. So there's a thing that does happen right before where Xavier goes to send the team out to Krakoa, and right before he grabs Vulcan and he tells him something real specific, and they're all like, "Oh, wonder what that was," and then didn't care. Beast and them went watching it, and then you find out what it is at the end of this book because. So Scott begins to remember where they're at, and like they find Moira's name on a plaque of the building, and he's like, I had been here before. I think this is where I trained with Havoc or whatever. Like I definitely have been here, but in like another time.
I've definitely shot beams out of my eyes here.
Yeah.
Definitely done that. Like Darwin's big pimping over here. When he was leaving, and Xavier's talking to Vulcan. First, Darwin has his arm around Petra.
Yeah.
And then he's got his arm around Petra and Sway.
I can adapt to any situation.
Yeah, dude, I told you.
And,
That shaft in his suit got longer because he was like, oh, man,
so it's
everyone sees
I
my
must
shape.
reproduce.
Yeah.
It's Darwin, Petra, and Sway, and then you got Vulcan and Xavier in a corner.
Yeah, I feel like he was just whispering the lyrics to Bootylicious to him.
So while they're sort of trying to figure out where they are, Rachel and Scott, what?
I feel like that's what Xavier was saying to Vulcan.
What?
It's the lyrics to Bootylicious.
Oh.
Those glutes.
Anyway, so Vulcan shows up just flying, like he's wearing a cloak now for some reason.
He's doing his Cable impression, too. Even though both of his eyes light up, he's like, only the Cable eye.
Yeah. He's like, I saw my nephew do this once.
Yeah.
Also,
my grandpa?
and Scott's like, your nephew? And he's like, yeah, your son, my nephew. He's like, if my son's your nephew, that must mean, wait a minute. And he's like, yeah, you're my big brother. Like, it is like a weird reveal where he's just like, big brother. And Scott's just like, huh? Like, surprise face, but now with a...
We got the same facial hair.
It'd be so hilarious. Vulcan just, like, Scott doesn't believe him, then Vulcan shows up with the handlebar mustache. It's true!
He grows it right in front of him.
So, and then this issue had a small issue behind it about Kid Vulcan, and that made me mad.
Yeah, they got rid of Kid Vulcan right away. Like, literally the same sentence. They were like, his name's Kid Vulcan, or Vulcan.
Literally the same sentence. And then, in this story, they name it Kid Vulcan. And it's just like, there's nothing about him that yells like kid or teenage anything.
Xavier calls him that, that's it.
Because he needs to
remind
force
him
it.
it's
He's like, this is a kid. Oh God, it's a kid. So anyway, we find out his backstory more. That
he likes ancient Rome.
well, yeah, that he was like born in space and was made into like basically an adult overnight and was made to be a slave. And there was one nice lady who gave him a book about ancient Rome. That's where he found the name Vulcan from. And then he kills that nice lady because his powers manifest and he can't control it. And then he's in the sewers of New York somehow. And then he meets Professor Xavier. And then he trains with Scott and he bends Scott's beams like Beckham. And then...
Are you fucking proud of yourself?
And then, it's such a dumb joke. It just occurred to me. And then Scott's all like, "Man, that's something. Your ability to bend my beams." And that's when Xavier knew they were brothers, and then didn't say anything. And that's
why would he?
Yeah, because why would he? Like, it doesn't benefit him yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he might have. He did say something, but he was like, "I'm gonna take that away from you.
I'm going to tell you just so I can take it."
Yeah, because he does tell them, but he's like, "Just forget I said anything."
Yeah, well, I just mean that like he doesn't say anything to the two of them in that moment when he had them training together. He just wanted to like see two brothers fight or something. I don't know, something weird. But you see that like, oh, that's how Scott knows that place. That it wasn't Havoc, it was Vulcan.
I feel like this is where my beams bend.
All right, so issue 5. And we're back in the offices for the very first time. Exactly. Of the ONE. I already forgot what it stood for. Official National Emergency, whatever.
Office of National Emergency.
Yeah, it just they could do fucking whatever. That's what that name says. Is like, oh, we gotta.
Which
like,
division are you again? Oh, that one.
Yeah,
division.
we're the International Bureau of Resources.
So, they discover Vulcan on camera footage from the wreckage of the Blackbird and the plane that killed Banshee. Which, if you don't remember, in our last episode, Banshee tried to have a yelling match with the Blackbird and it did not go well.
Yeah, it's really bad at it.
I was just wondering too. Do you think
that when he got out, he went ah?
No.
Was his attempt?
Do you think that like they're cool now?
Who?
Vulcan and Banshee. Like, do you think that Banshee went up to Vulcan on Krakoa and just like, hey man, so remember when you threw a jet at me?
I think they're cool now because Hickman doesn't care about anything that ever happened.
Yeah, because Krakoa is the first time that Vulcan is just a good guy.
Yeah, but it's also the first time Banshee could even meet Vulcan since something like this happened. Because Banshee dies, and then he's like a zombie for a little bit.
I think
he doesn't know that Vulcan killed him, though. And you think Xavier's going to tell him?
I also think that there's something going on in Krakoa of they're removing memories.
Bad ones?
Because...
Oh, when they bring people back?
Well, because Vulcan wakes up and he has no memory of being Emperor Vulcan.
Yeah.
So...
Or that he's an asshole.
But yeah. He just knows that he lives with his brothers and his dad.
And likes teasing Wolverine.
Which was awesome. But that's not how he acts in the first place, though. Because he was acting like a kid, almost.
Well, he is the...
Yeah, Vulcan. He is kind of a kid.
But he doesn't act like that in like this book or Emperor Vulcan.
Which is weird that they didn't just make him a kid. How rude is that? That when they brought him back, Xavier didn't like, hey, well, he never got to be a kid. Just
Michael Jackson it?
Just make him a kid.
As an adult, just making him a kid?
Well, I mean, because isn't that what they did? Didn't they bring Vulcan back to life?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't put somebody back to any certain time. They say that like it updates to the most current form before you died.
No, but okay. So
body,
the way the 5 work is that one of them is aging the body in the pod. So that's what I'm saying. Is couldn't you just make him a child?
You could give him the body of a child, but he would be.
So he could grow.
The mind of a grown man, though.
But he's got.
But
the
he
mind-
wouldn't
he's got
because
the
he
mind
already
of a
had.
kid.
He already has the mind of a kid. Like in the sense that a mind of a grown man is just a mind of a kid with more experience.
So like he's
So he still only has so many years. So like however many
Tom
years his
Hanks?
brain had, make him that body.
so he's just Tom Hanks and big.
Yeah, kind of. Well, that's what he is. So if you just reverted him back to being, or
Okay.
at least letting him be a child.
Because it seems like they didn't upload his thoughts to where he was at, so they already kind of took that away. So you might as well make him a kid.
Well, they still have to update his mind to where it was when he died because they don't have like further backups, but they can take stuff out and delete it.
That mind that he has right now, he was never that.
Yeah. Well, they. That's why I'm saying there's like some shady ass shit.
Yeah,
going
he's
on
too
in
nice
Krakoa.
and funny and charming. He's never that.
Which is weird though, also that they don't get rid of like the memories of death that like Colossus has. He's still like, oh, I died and it super fucked me up. The same with Domino,
Oh,
where they're just like, oh yeah, get rid of how mean people are sometimes, but let us live with PTSD.
maybe because they want to though. Maybe a part of them wants that, and so Xavier respects that.
Oh,
Sure, I know.
Yeah.
I heard it when I said it. That Xavier respecting anyone is rough.
Well, it probably helps Xavier because if he's got people on X-Force who got PTSD or something like that, he's thinking, good for them.
yeah.
That
No, because
might
they made a
motivate
whole
them.
team of people with PTSD who just shoot off at the loose end, and it's called the fucking
Thunderbolts? Oh,
The Hellions are
Oh,
just
yeah,
the
the Hellions,
people
is it?
who
Yeah.
freak out and have PTSD and are gonna
yeah.
start attacking people at the slightest sign of trouble.
I thought you were talking about Marvel in general for a second. Because the Thunderbolts, they're like their Suicide Squad, kind of.
And pretty much,
Yeah.
but without the neck bombs.
Yeah. Just general incentives of like, don't you want to be a good guy? And they're like, yeah.
Incentives.
General incentives. All right, anyway. So ONE discovers Vulcan on camera, and they're like, you know what? Maybe the X-Men weren't lying about their jet being stolen, because that guy seems to be real menacing. So they're like, hey, Sentinel, guy in a Sentinel. So we're picking up this energy signature, and it must be this guy that we're seeing, because, like, obviously you have to be super powerful to throw a jet at a plane. Go ahead and go to that thing. That must be the guy. And the guy in the Sentinel's like, right on. Gonna bag me a mutie.
Racist.
Because they are all racist.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that, like, the organization tasked to govern and protect the mutant race are mutant racists.
Kinda
Yeah, because
crazy.
that would never happen.
Yeah, that'd
in
be
In
America.
real life, yeah.
It's not like, I don't know, we'd put, like, let's say, ICE in charge of immigrants.
Or that we would put people who believe that there should be no immigration in ICE.
Yeah.
You would think, a guy in a Sentinel, definitely not going to be racist.
Yeah. Right. Which I would be torn, right? Like if I was in the Marvel universe.
I was about to say one of your favorite characters is just kind of a guy in a Sentinel.
Yeah, because what I'm going to say is
He does make them.
I don't know that he does.
We
do. know.
kind of
Yeah, I know. We just saw
listen to
that.
next week to see how Ron Devin is about that.
That's not what I meant.
when we cover Axis.
I meant these Sentinels Tony Stark didn't make. They're shoddy craftsmanship.
Oh, yeah, not these ones.
The Sentinels you see him make, they're so good.
This is a really good Sentinel.
Those are high quality.
Yeah, kill a lot of mutants. Those things good.
Yeah. I was gonna be like, oh, fuck it, forget it. I was gonna draw a stupid comparison. Anyway, I could see, if I was a guy in the Marvel universe who didn't have powers, and like I was just in the government, and they were like, hey, here's a program where basically you can pilot a Gundam, but then you find out that it's a Sentinel. And, you're governing mutants with a Sentinel. I would be torn because, on the one hand, like, the X-Men are awesome. And I wouldn't want to be in a Sentinel. But on the other hand, how many opportunities are you going to get to pilot a Gundam?
You know, I disagree with you on that because I feel like you're in the Marvel universe and you don't have powers, and they're like, you're gonna be in a Gundam. That's the only time that being in a Gundam would fucking be lame.
Oh, because even then, they destroy giant robots all the time.
Yeah, it's like being in a Gundam's not even cool.
Yeah.
Because we have gods just walking down the street. That guy shoots lasers out of his eyes. I have a suit. I have to have a suit to even do anything remotely.
I can't even get a form-fitting one?
Yeah.
You're like asking to get fucked up. Like, will you be in this Sentinel hovering above a school of mutants?
Yeah, fair enough.
No.
Yeah. Never mind. In the Marvel universe, that's a shit detail.
It's like being a firefighter sounds cool to us, but like if you're a firefighter in like the Marvel universe, like you barely do anything. You're just waiting around.
What are you talking about? You're always busy.
No, but you're not saving anybody in fires. You're just
You're just putting them out. Exactly.
Yeah, you're just spraying.
You're
congratulations, you get to use the hose now.
Yeah, you're a janitor.
Yeah.
You're a community janitor.
It's so much more lame to be a firefighter in the Marvel universe.
Unless it's a 9/11 tribute book, then you matter more.
Dark.
But true. Dark but true. There's a one time they mattered more in the Marvel universe.
It's almost like America.
Okay, so the Sentinel, they're like, all right, I got the fucking signature. I'm headed there. And then Scott's arguing with Vulcan, like, you can't be my brother. I only have one, and and that's not you.
His name is Neo.
And
he's the Highlander.
What would be so great if, like, it was the quote unquote trauma of him hitting his head from falling out of a plane that just made him forget a whole other brother. Like if he was there the whole time and he just like, you can't be my brother because, and then it's like just a concussion that's stopping him from remembering.
He fell with him and got up. And, who the hell are you?
Just starts shooting lasers out of his eyes for that second. Die!
So, yeah, he's arguing with Vulcan. And Vulcan's like, you know what? Screw Xavier. He sucks.
You're losing it.
I'm losing it right now. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened.
Scott doesn't believe Vulcan. Vulcan's going on like, I'm your brother. Xavier probably took that crap from you.
Yeah. He keeps bringing up that, like, he's messed with your mind, and, you know, you're just one person. He's done it with so many people, and Scott's not willing to believe that Xavier would do that.
Yeah, it's like, don't you remember all those times he wiped out, like, the whole crowd's mind back when you first started in the X-Men?
Don't you remember every time he just stopped everyone in mid-motion?
No, he doesn't.
So then the Sentinel shows up, and Vulcan's like, you know what? I'm going to go beat the shit out of this thing. And then Scott's like, all right, Rachel, while he's doing that, can you fly yet?
He gives that Sentinel a fucking pile driver.
Yeah. And so basically Scott commands Rachel to leave to go get the other X-Men and stuff, and that she's not needed there, but he is, and also he personally needs to find out what's happened.
He does remember being there, which is kind of why it's ridiculous. He doesn't believe Vulcan, but he remembers being there. Doesn't know why, and it's definitely not Xavier who fucked with his mind.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in Scott's line of work, there are a lot of psychics. In fact, in Scott's bedroom, there's a lot of psychics.
But he remembers being on Muir Island. Not many psychics that are...
Well, they weren't on Muir Island yet.
No, the Muir Research Facility.
They're in New York. And then Vulcan takes him to Muir Island right after Rachel leaves. Because he's like, you think I'm still not in control here? Like, I let you guys go. Part of the plan is for Rachel to leave to bring the crowd because I need you and I need this to draw out Xavier. Because you guys don't even know where Xavier is. So he has to come to us.
Because House of M.
Right? And so he fucks up the Sentinel, and Scott's like, hey, fucking stop. There's a person in there. And he's like, oh, yeah? And the guy comes out, and he goes to shoot at him. And he's like, die, mutie. Yeah. And he's like, roasted.
Boom, roasted. So it's important to note, Xavier has not been at the school. He's gone. Where is Xavier? We don't know.
Well,
He opened up a child care.
But it's important because it ties in at the end. And I just realized
in a
this.
foster home.
I also got to point out, though, that when Scott's telling Rachel to leave, he's like, that kid in My Dog Skip. It's like, I don't want you anymore. Get out of here.
Yeah, kind of.
Such a good movie.
She's like, I'm not trying to leave you. And he's like, leave now.
I can't remember.
It's
Is
an order.
That's an order as your future father.
Is that Malcolm in the Middle or Shia LaBeouf in that movie? I can't remember.
Malcolm in the middle.
All right. In My Dog Skip.
Oh.
I
And
knew it
then
was one of them.
and then a guy who just happens to be in Wales settles his tab.
The country, not the animal.
Yeah,
He's not
Jonah.
in a bunch of whales.
He sees on the news some mutants fighting, mainly Vulcan and Scott and a Sentinel, which is weird because like, when do you see news people there?
It was just, no, they just see Vulcan flying in the air. It's that same image.
Oh,
of
never
when
mind. Yeah,
he's
it's the same image. Yeah, okay.
over the plane crash.
I'm tripping.
And whoever this guy is does the same thing Xavier did earlier. He
Yeah.
leaves $1 tip and says, keep the change.
Yeah.
Which I've had people do that to me before. It makes you so fucking pissed.
So angry.
Where they're
He
like,
gets so angry.
yeah, the total is like $24.55 and they give you $25. Like, keep the change. Like, oh, I hate you.
Or the craziest ones that want change back, and it's literally just change.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have 35 cents on me. That's just
Yeah,
not
like
what
you have
happens.
one of those little belts that they have in arcades. You go,
Change
here you go.
Anyway.
like a damn gunslinger with that.
So, at the same time, the X-Men are in the mansion, and they're watching the news. They're seeing the same footage.
Oh, they see that footage.
Yeah,
With
they're-
Scott fighting.
Yeah, because they see Scott, they see Vulcan, and that's okay. So that's what I was conflating, and that's weird to me because like, where was there any like news media or whatever?
I think the Sentinel
There.
probably recorded it.
Oh, and that like it shared the footage maybe.
Because that's the same footage where Vulcan, that was also not recorded by the news. It was recorded by one.
Okay. So anyway, they see the footage and they're not doing anything, and
Wolverine's like, man, fuck that.
yeah, well, because Havoc's like, there's Scott. We gotta go. We gotta go and rescue him. And Nightcrawler's like, hey, not wanting to be the guy who states the obvious, but if we go to where we saw they were, they're not gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, and we're only gonna have more issues because they have to deal with one constantly keeping an eye on them. So they have to be super incognito about all the things they do. Otherwise, they have O&E on them as soon as they try to do something. Because they're probably trying to spin this as a mutant menace thing anyway.
Yeah.
Because right when
They see a weakness in mutants right now and they're trying to eliminate them.
yeah, under the guise of protecting them.
Yeah.
And when the Sentinel, when the guy in the Sentinel first sees Vulcan, he's like, hey, I found the guy and those two mutants that dropped off our radar. And it's sort of implied that they're already thinking they're working together.
Yeah.
Like the X-Men's conveniently stolen Blackbird, that crashes a jet. Like, and here are those guys who were missing, and they're just talking. So, little does he know he's about to be turned to nothing, just vaporized. He's just ashes,
Roasted.
roasted,
Roast.
like a watermelon.
God. It's a smug callback. Something we talked about before.
We even recorded, yeah. It's fucking smoked with watermelon. It's so gross.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway. So they see the footage. They argue about whether they should do it. Well, they argue with Havoc about whether they should go and do something about it. And then Emma just briefly brings up, hey, that guy looks familiar. How do I know his face? Talking about Vulcan. Because obviously she knows Cyclops' face. Except maybe even she's like the artist in this book. I think that's Cyclops. Because they draw his face so different all the time. A couple of times he looks exactly like if Cassidy drew him from the Astonishing books.
I think it's weird with Cyclops because I feel like there's a couple characters that have like a definitive look no matter who draws them. Mm-hmm. They look like that. Like Colossus, no matter who draws Colossus, looks like Colossus. But
Usually, yeah.
Cyclops doesn't really have a definitive look. He always gets drawn so differently.
Well, because it's easy, right? You just slap a visor on a blank face, and you at least know it's
just
Cyclops.
make him some white guy.
Yeah.
But like even then, like I feel like Kitty Pryde, like I can see who she is as like a person. Like at least personally to me, she's Anna Kendrick. She's basically just looks like that.
You can only have so many like different facial or like characteristics to differentiate people. And that's why they ended up like cutting Amara's hair and the Hickman stuff because there's like so many blonde girls, they all look exactly the same. So let's just cut her hair.
Especially when you make all of them white, it's hard to differentiate all of them.
They also could have just slapped like a swastika on a Brazilian flag, and you would have known.
I don't think she's gonna be rocking that.
Because she's a South American Nazi. All right, so
she's a Nazi. Because a lot of Nazis are in South America.
Exactly, yeah. I just mean it's like a South American one. So then Kitty learned that Professor Xavier, she comes running through a wall, as she wants to do. And she's like, hey, so that building that they were at, apparently Xavier owns it. He got it from Moira when she died. And then at that same time, Rachel shows up and she's like, I know where they're going. And it's Muir Island. That's where they going.
That's where they going?
That's where they going. So then
Jesus Christ.
So
the rain.
Huh?
So there's raining.
There is raining. And Vulcan reveals to Scott that he killed Banshee. And Scott's
super fucking obvious at this point.
Yeah, but he didn't even know Banshee was dead. Like he doesn't know any of that stuff happened.
Yeah, he's been in a cave for days.
Yeah, well, that was weird, right? They went into a cave and then they just ended up being in a basement at a facility.
You don't have a cave that leads to your basement?
No.
You don't have a basement cave?
Nope, no basement cave.
He took him.
I don't even feel sorry for poor people like you.
He's so nonchalant about killing him, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's his name? Sean something? Oh, yeah, he's dead now.
The Irish one, yeah. He's dead.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really cared too much
Scott
about
did.
Banshee dying.
He shook his fist like Arthur.
Yeah. He's like, you're no brother of mine, killing Banshee. And then, like, I wanted him to be like, look, I didn't tell him to yell at a jet as it was flying at him.
Yeah,
like,
he could have flew away.
He could have just not done that.
And you guys were right there. He could have just flew to you guys.
That's why he said he went out like a true X-Man.
Yeah.
Like a bitch? Like
well,
just flying at a jet trying to fight it?
That is what's weird at this point, right?
Isn't that
because
how Proudstar died?
He
how did
yelled
he
at a blackbird?
No, but didn't he die from doing something like trying to stop a plane or something? Warpath. Not Warpath.
Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird. How did he die?
I don't remember. Damn. But he went out with like a true X-Man.
But it was like the same kind of thing where it was like dumb and Banshee was telling him not to do it and he tried it.
That's crazy. Banshee was telling him not to do it?
Yep.
And then Banshee does something really dumb.
He felt bad about it at the time, so he harbored this his whole life. It was waiting for an opportunity
like,
to die
John,
by a plane.
I understand now. This is
was
gonna
his
be a
penance.
bitch.
Sometimes you gotta catch a plane.
So Scott's shaking his hand like Arthur and what's his name? Don't be an idiot, Scott. You're not gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
He's so nonchalant, not even caring that Cyclops is all pissed.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he already knows he can bend the beam however he wants.
Bend that beam all the way.
Yeah. So,
What the fuck does that mean?
anyway, they're gonna. Sometimes
Are
you gotta
you okay?
catch a
We
plane. No, dude, that's stuck in my head because that's so stupidly sums it up perfectly. Like he really did go out there like he was gonna catch a plane, and then the obvious happens.
I'm
explosion.
looking it up, and yeah, that's exactly how Thunderbird died. Jumping in front of a plane. He punched it with his bare fist.
Does he think he is Colossus?
Yeah. He just jumped on and was like hammer fisting it.
Oh, man. So, fuck, where was I even in this?
He catch the plane.
So he's... Oh, right. I was trying to remember my point that I was going to make because you said, Justin, you said that Vulcan brings up that Banshee died like an X-Man. And I wonder if he means that as an insult right now because, like, he went from revering the X-Men to, like, now he's like, fuck you guys.
No, he's not like,
fuck you and your whole crew. But, like, he sort of is. He definitely is mad at Xavier.
It's just Xavier I think he's mad at. He's trying to get Xavier to come out. He's a little mad at Scott because Scott doesn't remember.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really care about Rachel. And I don't think he was dissing him when he said he went out like a true X-Man. Because he was like, he went out like a true X-Man, if that helps. Trying to say, like, he had a noble death or whatever.
Yeah, either that or he was saying he had a super avoidable death.
But he's also super willing to kill them all and everything.
Well, because he's fucked up.
Yeah.
Later, that's when he throws a temper tantrum and, I hate you, X-Men.
Right.
Get out of my room! So, should we get into the pervert showing up, or?
Yes. So, Professor X arrives and surprises Scott by actually knowing Vulcan. So, like, suddenly all the things Vulcan was saying about Xavier seem a little bit more legitimate because the whole time Scott was probably thinking, that can't be true. Xavier would never do anything like that. And then Xavier shows up and he's like, all right, now, Gabriel, be cool. And Scott's like, you know his name? You know this dude? Like, there's legitimacy to what he's saying. How come I don't remember this guy? Because he's saying we met and I don't remember him, and you have the ability to. Oh no! Like it's like slowly in Scott's mind is what's churning.
Also,
it took too long for him to get that.
Yeah.
Xavier's dressed like a golf caddy from The Matrix. He's got like a little golfer's hat and then like a large black duster.
Well, I mean, it is raining and he was in Wales, so I just assume that's their jam.
They golf in The Matrix? I mean, I know there's a lot of golfing in Wales.
Yeah, so like the golfing and then like it's raining, so Matrix coat. Like aren't those meant for rain?
I think they're just meant for like
before
to look cool.
before the Matrix, weren't those coats meant for rain?
They're meant for trench.
Because they're trench coats?
Yeah. Not raincoats.
So you like go into a trench so you don't drown?
Built-in floaties.
This might be our dumbest episode yet.
It might be. Yeah. So then the X-Men show up because there's a big old crack of thunder. Yep, that song happens. And then Vulcan's mad. He's like, oh, well, they're here. And says something about killing them all. And Xavier's like, no, they've done nothing to you. And he's like, I ain't doing it because of them. I want to hurt you, you dumb, silly bitch.
My favorite part of that is Wolverine and Emma show up holding on to Nightcrawler. He like teleports them in. Mm-hmm. And then Emma like slinks away real quick as Nightcrawler and Wolverine get blasted.
Yeah, because Logan's like, let's get him. And then he blasts over at him.
I see what's about to happen here.
You can even see her in the panel like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. And then Professor Xavier comes clean that, you know, everything he said is true. Like, that they are brothers and that...
well, yeah, they got the same eyes.
He did touch those kids. And
I think they
have the same mustaches.
This whole panel is just like that when R. Kelly was on the news. He's like, I'm dying!
But he also admits that like he can walk again ever since M-Day, but he also doesn't have his powers. And he thinks that like Wanda did that like...
Yeah, because they're like...
she's like, all right, you could get your ability to walk, but now you don't have the ability to make people forget things.
And Vulcan's like, show them everything that happened. And he's like, I can't because no brain power. And he's like, fine, you do it and you link our brains and show everybody what happened.
Yeah. But before that,
it goes so long because he's like, I can't. He's like, all right, well then you link with him.
I know. They definitely drag that out. He's like I can't do that. My telepathy's not working. And he's like, fine. Then Rachel, you link with him and go to everybody's mind. And he's like, well, I've only seen like what Scott saw.
Well, that's
he's like, then you link with me and him and show in everybody else's head. God damn it, just do it.
That's the next issue.
Like they play it just off Xavier, and somebody's gonna be like, how do you know about the parts you weren't there for?
Anyway, all right. So 5 ends with just Xavier revealing that he's not a mutant, and then we get the short story of Emma almost being recruited, and I guess Xavier thinking better of it. But you see the hypocrisy of like he goes there and he's like, it's so creepy because that's when you have Xavier in a wheelchair at a strip club, basically, at the Hellfire Club, and Emma's a stripper there.
Yeah, and Xavier's definitely wearing fucking sweatpants.
Yeah, and he asks Emma for a private dance, and she gives him the most disgusted look. And then as soon as they go to the private room, she's just like, give me all your money, like in his mind, commanding him. And he's like, nah. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm a psychic too. Also, I know you're a mutant. Take off the rest of your clothes.
And he's got that fucking frilly pirate shirt.
Yeah, he looks dumb. So, anyway, he's like, you're a mutant. And she's like, how do you know that? And also, fuck you. Get out of here. Leave me alone. And he's like, the people who you work for know you're a mutant. And then he leaves. And then she comes out like, what do you mean they know? Like, intrigued. And then bouncers show up. Them. And then and then Vulcan, who looks so much like Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Like, straight off of Home Improvement.
He does.
Just real angry. He's there and he's like, who do I got to beat up right now?
Which Devin texted me when he saw that saying, it looks like Jonathan Taylor Thomas is an angry bro. And I thought he said Jonathan Taylor Thomas was an angry boy.
Which is also true. And anyway, the bouncer comes out because he's mad that Emma's not dancing on a pole, and then Vulcan shoots the bouncer, and then Xavier's like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and erase everyone's mind here.
Why do I feel like Vulcan had a catchphrase at this point that was, JTT got nothing on me?
That'd be great.
He blasts his wig right off, which is even funnier because it's those funny wigs.
He has a powdered wig.
So then Xavier says he's going to erase everyone's memory of the whole thing. And Vulcan's like, wait, well, if you could do that, why don't you just make Emma join us? And he's like, well, I can't go that far. Also, I have a feeling like, you know, she's not suited for being with us and whatnot. And this was all a mistake. And Moira has like some objections to it in general, like even the erasing of the mind, of the memories and stuff. And he's just like, shut up, woman, push my chair.
Oh, because he's fought so much harder to get other people on the team than that.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck her.
I feel like that was just thrown in to be like, hey, Emma always mattered a little bit.
That's kind of like why she didn't join you.
Yeah. And then, you know, why she had that moment of like, he looks familiar, Vulcan. But I feel like...
I think I saw him in Born to be Wild.
Where I want to know.
I think he was the voice of Simba.
I forgot where Xavier was. Was his mind powers messed up when they met Emma the first time?
No. Why would his mind powers be messed up?
Because they're always messed up.
I think he's always just lying.
They're like, they work, they don't work. He walks, he doesn't walk. He's dead,
he's not dead. Yeah.
Are you talking about not this, but the
Dark Phoenix saga?
Yeah.
Because she just like...
Yeah, they were messed up because he was trying to walk, and he's like, oh, it hurts, but it's all in my head.
Okay,
right. Because Lilandra was like, oh, fucking just get up.
Yeah.
Your legs work. They're fine.
It's like, oh, your legs don't work, but your dick does.
We gave you a brand new clone body. Like,
everything.
It works.
He's like, everything below my waist doesn't work. She's like, yeah, but it did stop you from poking me in the back last night.
I'm just curious because she like laid the smackdown on all the X-Men, and I was like, where was Xavier during this?
Yeah. So Vulcan does that thing you said, where she makes Rachel show Professor Xavier's memories to everyone of the stuff, and then also his own memories because reasons.
Yeah.
And you see when they get to Krakoa, and I loved this, that they got rid of the crabs. The mutated crabs.
Special shampoo for that.
No, or lobsters, right? Or the lobster or crab or whatever Wolverine was fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they kept the birds. like fucking Angel was getting attacked by birds and was just like, I need ground support.
Just a bunch of little birds pecking the shit out of him.
So it shows that he had gone to Moira about that and I need help to defend my X-Men because this island is eating them and apparently has crazy birds. And
they're like, I can't get them past the fucking tubes.
these birds are so angry. And then they Vulcan and his team show up, and they only are able to get to Cyclops, who's like all tied up to one tree, and then you see the other X-Men are tied up to different trees, and which is also weird because there was a temple involved. Like, weren't they all in a temple? Or does Krakoa just make that?
No,
later?
they. I mean, maybe
in giant size. Remember, there's the temple. They all see it. They go to it. They break down the door, and then there are the X-Men.
I mean, maybe all of them were besides. Well, no, because they say in this that was a memory that Xavier implanted.
Xavier implanted the memory. Well, we find out that Xavier implants the memory of Krakoa talking to them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that everybody could be in that temple except for Cyclops, and the memory of him being in that temple and being let go was put in by Xavier.
Okay.
So he was just on a tree. Or that could be the first time he got away to get... Or no.
Well, no, none of them are in it. Because you see, I believe it's Iceman and Angel are also on one tree. And I think Sway is like, there's more over there, but they can't get to them. They can only release Scott, and then they like run him back to the Blackbird.
You know what? Krakoa figured he needed to hide his toys better. So I got to put my shit away.
Yeah, because they took one. So better defense. So yeah, but they are slowly getting their own power sapped from Krakoa while they're there. The same way that Scott lost his powers and the other X-Men were losing theirs. And so they make it there. They save Scott. They can only get him to the Blackbird, and then Scott's trying to argue with him that they can't stay. That they have to go. Well, actually, this is another point where they then have to use Scott's memories. Well, no. This is also weird.
Scott doesn't have his memories. Xavier has them, and that's one of the reasons Scott was so pissed off. Because Xavier, they were saying at first when Vulcan was saying like read Scott's mind, he had to read Xavier's instead because Xavier took all of his memories and deleted them out of Cyclops.
And that made Scott pissed off because he's like, wait, what happened?
Because he didn't just make him forget about it; he completely got rid of the memory.
Yeah,
and then took it on himself,
and then gave fake memories to him. So you learn that Scott wanted them all to leave, but that they wouldn't do that, that they felt they were good enough to go back. Yeah. And actually, there's a moment where when they get to the Blackbird, where Vulcan is telling Scott, like, hey, we're good. We know what we're doing. We've been training for months. And Scott's like, months? It's been days. And he's like, we know what we're doing, man. Like, he doesn't even acknowledge that it was only days. And then he's like, and by the way,
I assume
I'm your brother. We're brothers.
I assume that though was because like Scott's been knocked out, getting his energy drained. He wouldn't know how long.
Right. Well, I'm sure why Vulcan doesn't acknowledge that like Scott would be right, but at the same time, Scott's right. It's only been days,
as we've learned from anything else we've covered.
Yeah, Cyclops is right. Yeah. So, but then he brings up like, and by the way, Xavier told me we're brothers. that day he had us train together, he wanted to see us in action for himself, and he could see our mustaches. And it turns out, yeah. And Scott's like, you know what? That makes sense. The way you can manipulate my optic blast and stuff. And then Havoc's like, whoa. Stop this movie. What the fuck you mean you're our brother? I call shenanigans right now. Because
I would remember a brother.
Yeah.
I didn't bump my head.
You look like you're less than a year younger than me. I would remember you existing. And then this is when it's revealed that, like, their mother was 2 months pregnant when their plane was attacked, that she was almost to term by the time she was killed in the Shi'ar custody.
Yeah, she was, like, days away from giving birth.
And that Corsair thought both her and the baby that was ripped from her were dead, and instead they took the baby and they threw it in the birthing chamber. Yeah. Microwaved a baby, and then you got Vulcan, basically.
And Vulcan didn't even know he was born on a different planet because Xavier just doesn't tell anybody anything.
And he says that, and he's like, what? I wasn't born on Earth?
I thought he knew he was born on a different planet, but he didn't know that he was born, like, later than he was.
No.
That he was just microwaved to be older.
So that short story that we get a couple issues prior, at the end of 4, he's having flashes of memory. Like, that's his whole inner dialogue or monologue, is that Xavier, with his help, he has memories, and that he's not being honest about everything he's remembering. But it doesn't mean he's remembering everything. And so basically what we learn here is that even though he was helped to remember some things, he didn't know he was born in space. And that's basically what Xavier just said. Because Xavier also says that he was a slave that belonged to a Shi'ar delegate or whatever who, like, traveled to Earth a bunch. And that's how he even got here.
Yeah, it from what I'm looking at, it looks like he knew what, the people that he was fighting off and raised by and, like, enslaved them. He knew they were aliens.
Yeah.
But he didn't know he wasn't on Earth, I guess.
Yeah.
They're not really clear about that.
So, yeah, anyway, so Xavier explains all that, so basically telling Havoc to shut up, he is their brother. Because I would also be like, yeah, what? How are...
It is a story about, like...
We're, like, almost the same age. How are you, my brother?
This is a story about how there's a third Summers brother, but it is very much a story about how Cyclops has a brother he didn't know about. They don't give a fuck about Havoc having a brother that he doesn't know about.
No, they don't. I mean, they pay lip service to it a little bit.
Yeah.
But
they're like, shut up, Havoc, the story's not about you.
Which is
Who
funny
invited
because
you here?
because it becomes about him. Like the whole rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire and that whole war, he's the X-Man leader in space.
Yeah, Emperor Vulcan doesn't have Cyclops in it at all. It's all Havoc.
Because while that's happening, Cyclops is doing the whole mutant messiah thing on Earth and is like, he's like the president of mutants, and they're trying to save hope.
And Havoc has nothing else to do with his time, so.
No. Like, why would he help his people on Earth? He's like, I need you to know we're not brothers.
Yeah, don't call me mutant. Don't use the M word. I'm going to space.
And I used to like Havoc so much, but that don't say the M word thing is so stupid.
This is so dumb. We need to find my brother. Destroy Cerebro.
I find myself, because I really like Havoc, and I just find myself continuously being disappointed by him. Like, his peak was Astonishing X-Men, and that was about him being a fuck up.
Yeah. Trying to reform being a fuck up.
Yeah.
But, and like the best part of that really is just that Kitty Pryde really did own the copyright to the X-Men.
He's like, you don't own the X-Men name. Yeah, I do.
Well, in fairness, too, it's like everyone's an X-Man. Like, even Deadpool saying he's an X-Man, I mean, we know he's not. We know he's not.
They, in Cable,
He's saying it.
in Cable and Deadpool, Deadpool gets knocked out and he wakes up in an X-Men suit, and Wolverine and Beast were taking bets on if he woke up, if he would either be completely disgusted or excited thinking he was actually a member of the X-Men.
Wolverine won the bet because he thought he'd be excited.
No, Wolverine won the bet because he thought he'd be disgusted.
So Deadpool wakes up and he's disgusted?
Yeah. He thinks until Ways Run, Deadpool always thought the X-Men were a bunch of fucking nerds. And
oh, wow.
Like the way it is with Ryan Reynolds in the movies, how he like makes fun of the X-Men, that's how it was until like Daniel Way's run.
So, anyway, while they were inside Gabriel's head, showing everyone those memories, Xavier and Rachel were also looking for what his weaknesses might be.
Yep.
So they were like,
kick him in the balls.
I was thinking too.
He's got one glowing weak spot right in between his legs.
Yeah, so Xavier reveals Vulcan's true origin. Then he reveals that he took away Scott's memories. And then it shows Scott explained to Professor Xavier how things went so terribly. So, like, because he gets back, because he's in the Blackbird, and like, he's, like, traumatized, telling him, like, look, that, like, I couldn't do anything. They were weakened by the island. I didn't even have my powers. And as soon as they went to go get the others, like, Krakoa attacked them. Like, it ripped Sway apart immediately. Like, because apparently Vulcan could hurt it. And it was like, you're not food, you're an enemy. And it just destroyed those people.
It did not like being hurt.
Yeah.
I need more Krakoa like this. You turn into a damn volcano.
Yeah, well, I mean, after this, all it does is become
becomes Krakatoa.
I need that.
How did you not get to it?
That's more Justin.
Oh, I
both
need
of
that
us.
for Storm's onomatopoeia that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Krakatoa, that's what I need.
Just when Krakoa becomes a volcano.
It's like
It's actually
incinerates
just
him.
Squidward.
So, yeah.
It's like Destroyer, almost. Opens up its chest and just incinerates him.
From Thor?
Yeah.
But that's its face. It opens up its face.
Oh, yeah.
So Scott explains to Xavier all that, and then Xavier goes to Moira, and he's like, look, so your students are dead. And Scott's really upset.
Why do I feel like this panel where it's Xavier next to Cyclops' bed while he's passed out, in my head when I look at that panel, it's playing Aerosmith? Like, I feel like Xavier's like pushing the hair out of his eyes while he's sleeping. It's like, I don't want to close my eyes.
Yeah.
That's as much as we can use of that song.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't say any more of that. But so Xavier is explaining all this to everyone, to Vulcan, to Scott, all this stuff. That like, yes, I stole your memories. I spoke to Moira, and he says something that's like, yeah, and I told her students were dead, and she was beside herself.
The way he says that was kind of like fucked up. He's like, Moira, of course, was beside herself.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, and it's like, she was like, you fucking asshole. You can't be trusted around children. This is what happens. They die under your watch.
He completely ignores that she says that, too.
Yeah.
This does explain, too, how we talked about in our episode 49 about how, like, why the fuck didn't Krakoa ever speak after this?
Yeah. So you find out, too. So she's like, and now, like, look what you've done. You've killed all my students. You've doomed your own students. And Scott's, how is he going to live with himself now with the knowledge that his brother died saving him? And he's like, what knowledge?
Well, and Xavier's like, hey, you said they weren't your students.
What memories? And yeah, right. They were X-Men.
Gotta remember something to be mad about it.
I decided he doesn't need to know.
Right. And she's like, you decided, huh? You piece of shit. And so she makes a mixtape.
It's just a diss track.
Well, kind of, right? Because she goes into her office, and then she literally records don't forget that this guy's a piece of shit because he's gonna wipe your mind.
Yeah, like for some reason I keep forgiving him, and I don't know why.
The part that Beast couldn't put on, like the ending to that tape, was just "Warning Shot" by Eminem.
She just really does go into a diss track.
Yeah.
That's why I fucked your bitch, you bald motherfucker.
Man,
This part was ridiculous.
Yeah, so Xavier and Scott's still like trying to understand what. No, I was set free. Krakoa said it. He talked to us.
I'm gonna have to break out that that Xavier is a jerk that we only use like once or twice.
And then Xavier is like, "Yeah, I made that up. You couldn't tell that was really bad writing. I wrote that." Like he didn't really sound like that.
This is actually what he sounded like. It's so funny that they put that in there.
Xavier like cups his hand and is like, "You mean this voice? the voice of Krakoa?"
But although he also can't like make them hear what the thing actually sounded like because his powers are gone, so he had to have been like, "Oh, actually, he sounded like."
Yeah. And then Rachel explains how Vulcan survived to him, because Vulcan's like, "Yeah, and then you guys just left us for dead, except I'm alive somehow, and how did that happen?" And conveniently, Rachel's like, "Well, I know. So, remember when Sway got ripped in half? Right before that, instinctually, she slowed time down. And because she did that, that gave time for other people's instincts to take effect. Petra's instinct was to create a trench."
Yeah.
Who knew? The thing Xavier
I got it from. I was about to say I got it from Xavier's coat.
And then while you guys were going into the Earth, Darwin's reflex.
They're just fucking with you.
Onto the Earth, like they're going into.
I
it.
know they're going in.
So Darwin's instinct was to become energy.
He's just
and then you got bathed in that energy, and so like you're wearing Darwin, like he's like in you.
He's on your balls right now.
Like Vulcan's just like, gross.
So like that's how you survived, and she says when Jean threw Krakoa into space, so they've never once mentioned Lorna in any of these books or referenced her, and then. They
Jean didn't even do anything.
Didn't do anything. Lorna did this. They don't even know how magnets work.
Magnets are telepathy, right? So Jean must have done it.
Everyone knows when you cross summer's streams, shoot them through a living island to the molten core, and then have a magnetic vagina push up, well, first down, then up, and removing gravity. That makes islands float into space.
That's what Days of X is about, right?
I don't know. I think so.
That's a Hickman run.
It is how magnets work, really. If you want a flying island in space, that's how it's done. And so that's how they exist in space, is that he just turns them into energy, and then somehow Vulcan was rebirthed, or it was always alive in some weird stasis.
Yeah.
So, because it is weird
he
that
just kind of took on the powers of everybody, so he had the adaptability of.
He doesn't even need to breathe in space, right?
Yeah,
because they also say that. I think they also say that when Darwin converted himself to energy, he converted the bodies of the other two.
He absorbed
energy,
them.
So
Yeah, he absorbed. Darwin himself absorbed the
Yeah.
properties of Sway and of Petra. So Darwin's the one who technically has all those abilities, but because he then was a part of Vulcan, Vulcan had all the abilities.
To some extent.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he was using them that crazy.
They were just sort of wildly happening.
He was making ghosts.
He was. But those were just time shadows.
Yeah.
Which, wait a minute. A German mob existed in Westchester, New York to chase Nightcrawler?
Maybe he was just putting them wherever, obviously.
Well, what Sway could do, right, was that she created time glimpses. She could see things that happened in time where she was. So that's why the Havoc thing makes sense, because he's walking down past that room, and suddenly he sees Xavier talking to Corsair, and Xavier is like, "You can never tell."
Maybe it adapted.
Your sons that
I mean, it probably works with people too. Like you couldn't show that mob to Wolverine, but you could show it to Nightcrawler.
It's a memory because they show Jean in a cave, a random cave.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like those things don't make sense from her power.
I'm just guessing that
It adapted and evolved and got more girthy.
we didn't see her enough to know like the full extent of her power. The time shadows.
Yeah, so anyway, Rachel's like, and your weakness is that Darwin's inside of you right now. And she rips Darwin outside of Vulcan. And Xavier's like, what? As if
God.
he didn't know they were looking for his weakness. And also, like, that's what you came up with?
Darwin's like, I'm coming.
And then they end up fighting Vulcan. And Vulcan ends up getting real butthurt because he loses a fight to the X-Men. And then he's like, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Well, because Wolverine fastball specials Kitty through him.
He does. And even she's
don't-
like, ouch, that hurt.
But I don't, like,
Why?
is she barely unfazing doing that thing that she always threatens to do?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
not
he's a robot.
technology. Yeah, he's a robot. Goddamn robots.
Yeah, so Vulcan leaves angry because he's just like, whatever, you X-Men suck, and I got a Empire to go destroy anyway because they're the ones who really screwed my life up.
He's basically crying. Oh, so this is the X-Men now?
Yeah.
Trying to stop evil? Can't believe I wanted to be you guys.
Yeah.
You're not my brother.
Yeah, pretty much. And they were like, yes, we're in agreement. Because each one of them said it.
Yeah.
Scott's like, you're not my brother. And then Havoc's like, you're not my brother. And now Vulcan's like, you're not my brother.
And then later on the moon, they're like, we're brothers.
Yeah.
They're singing the fucking...
We're singing and we're, well, white.
Very white.
If he couldn't fly, he would definitely be stomping away right now.
Yeah.
And closing his door behind him.
Yeah. It's like that scene in Hot Rod, though, where he's like, get out of my room.
And then Beast's like, hey, so that Darwin guy, he's forming a body.
He looks like Glob right now.
Yeah, and they take that glob to the mansion, and then he's got more of a actual body, and then they go mourn. They
mourn Moira and mourn Amir.
what?
They mourn
What?
They mourn Moira
No,
from Muir.
Not Moira.
She's part of it.
It's just
No,
Banshee,
in
Petra,
their heart.
and Sway,
Yeah.
which is super weird because Xavier's like, well, I guess I'll recognize that I killed these kids now.
yeah, and it said beloved comrade for both of them. Is like none of you knew them.
Yeah, for all three of them, beloved. Like
Yeah, it's like Banshee. Okay,
that's what you would put on Colossus's grave.
and it was funny too because Petra's only just said Petra. Like Sway had her full name and then code name.
They didn't know Petra's name.
She was like a runaway.
It was just Petra. Yeah, but Petra knows what her full name would be.
Maybe she don't. She never told anybody. They can't ask her.
They could have made
Xavier
it.
could have.
They just decided not to make her a name. They knew they were going to kill off all these
After
characters.
she's dead, they're just like, she's Stevie Nicks.
So, and there's a great moment too where like right after they fight and beat Vulcan, where Xavier goes to put his arm on Cyclops' shoulder. He's like, don't touch me. Fucking gross.
Goddamn human.
Goddamn human. So then, Xavier goes to Scott again, and Scott's like, get off my lawn.
Xavier did the whole thing like he's just pretending he didn't do any of that stuff.
Right.
Cyclops, because he walks up and put his arm around him like, so, Scott. We're still on for dinner later, right?
And Xavier's like, he's got his bags and shit. Like, guess I'm moving in now. He's like, no, get off my goddamn house. Get
Yeah.
out of here. He's like, hey, it's my house. He's like, you're not a mutant. Leave.
Yeah.
Xavier is going, Bah!
This is what I was saying, though, because he was not around. He was
Exactly.
gone. They were looking for him. He obviously didn't want to be found. And all of a sudden, he's like, what? I can't be here?
I can't even sleep on the couch.
This is my home.
It is so weird too, though.
All my cameras are in there. I mean, all that stuff's in there.
Oh, my cameras are in there. My hard drives.
They are hard.
Yeah. Gross.
But he just acts like it's so crazy for him to not be there, even though he hasn't been there. And hasn't wanted to be there. They were looking for him.
Yeah, and then real obviously they cut to Vulcan, and what's he doing? He's headed for the Shi'ar.
Emperor Decay.
And
Who's
then,
not alive, right?
yeah.
No, Vulcan kills him. He's alive at this point.
Oh, is he? I
Yeah.
thought Leandra took over, and I thought they were weighs down the line and the royal lineage for the Shi'ar.
When I read
that guy,
the Emperor Vulcan book doesn't come out for like another 3 years after this, though.
right? But like that guy was emperor back before Corsair was even Corsair.
But when I read Vulcan this week, and in it they said that he killed Deken to become emperor.
I'm just trying to understand how Deken was even emperor, because I thought the whole thing with was it Leandra or Lilandra? It's Lilandra, right?
Lilandra, I think.
Well, either
Something.
way, her the one with the pyramid for hair. She would
That's Deken.
I understand that's all of them. By the way, they all have the same hair, but
Racist.
she was empress, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So like she had to have already have deposed Deken. And what was the whole Macron crystal thing about? Like, didn't they get rid of an evil emperor from that period? Like, it's just weird that suddenly, like, this guy predating so much X-Men history is suddenly around again for Vulcan to want to fight.
They just brought him back.
Just decided.
They do that sometimes.
They do. Sure.
Isn't she his
I'm
brother
just
or
pointing
something?
it out.
I don't know if they...
Yeah. Yeah,
like-
she was his brother.
what's going on with him?
He was her brother.
That also, though, really makes me feel like Wolverine's son's name actually is Daken.
No,
Why?
it's Japanese, so you'd pronounce the vowels the way
Yeah.
Japanese.
Deken's
But I
got
mean-
no A.
That would also make Genki Ganke.
Yeah,
So-
probably is.
But that's... No.
It's probably
It's bad.
officially Ganke. Yeah.
I don't know, because Bendis won't say his characters' names.
Yeah.
I can't find one thing of him saying Genki's name.
I'm just saying that's probably what it is, but who cares? You know, it's already been mispronounced for so long. Whatever. It's Ned anyway in the
It's
movies.
not Ned. You shut your whore mouth. It's not Ned. Ned Leeds is a goddamn hobgoblin.
It's got more hob than the regular goblin.
Which reminds me, I had a fucking weird dream the other day that I was like, it all makes sense. I was like in a hotel, and it was like in the Marvel universe vaguely, like stuff was happening on the TV, but none of it mattered. And there's like
So you're in a Claremont book.
yeah,
Go on.
but it was like there's a bellhop there, and people were like, I think that might be the Hobgoblin. So like I went down, and I talked to the dude, and he like unzipped these giant bags that he had, like carrying people's stuff up and down the stairs, and there was a Hobgoblin boot, but it was like the size of like a fucking watermelon. Because dreams are weird.
Yeah. Also, that says nothing because watermelons are so many different sizes.
Not shoe sizes.
It's a size 12 watermelon.
It was
Oh,
the
you know
size-
what? I was thinking like the length of a boot, but okay.
No, it was fucking it was like a small TV.
So,
Like, what are we
so you
talking here?
dream
Like
of watermelon shoes.
like a 26-inch?
I love too that like
It was thick.
in your dreams, your measurement of metrics are in watermelons.
About 3 watermelons.
There's no way to properly do there's no way it could fit a human. It
you
would have
just-
went up to at least his
I'm
knee.
assuming you just got done watching that ham watermelon video.
No, I saw that the next day.
You were drawn
I don't
to
know
it.
what the fuck this was about. But do you know what this is about? This is about our social media. that you
Well,
should-
no. I wanted. All right. So you said earlier that where Xavier was at ties into something. So what were you talking about?
Oh, I was talking
When
about
he was
the
in
fact...
Wales.
Yeah, I already covered that. The fact that he was gone this whole time, and all of a sudden he's like, guess I'm moving back in. And so freaked out about having to be kicked out.
Oh,
Like,
I
he
thought
didn't-
you meant there was something significant about him being in Wales.
No, I mean, he didn't want to be there in the first place.
Oh, yeah,
Because he could have been there.
Nobody.
True.
But now it's a big deal. It's like when you say, like, you can't have that, all of a sudden you want it.
Ah.
So he's like a fucking toddler.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, then never mind. Social medias.
Yeah,
all that jazz.
We have social media. Facebook, Instagram,
Check out our WhatsApp.
Twitter. We don't have
You say
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp?
Our WhatsApp.
Wet naps.
Our
Let's try this again.
our
We have social
TikToks.
media. We don't have... God damn it. Just let me do the thing. We have social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All of it is at Mex-Men Podcast. Our YouTube channel is up. After you listen to this, go listen to that. Double clicks, double fun.
Double mint gum.
Yeah, the great mint, the statement of double mint gum.
The great mint.
Yeah,
This is a good
statement of the great mint, the double mint gum.
I know.
So shirts.
Yep, we got those. Buy them on TeePublic.
Yep.
You can get tapestries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's always fun.
Justin, what kind of
onesies.
stuff do we have up there?
You got stickers you can put on your sweatpants.
You can put them on just on your sweatpants.
Because you don't have Mex-Men sweatpants, but you can make your sweatpants Mex-Men.
Yeah,
You wear a strip club like Xavier.
Exactly. Put one on each cheek.
you can
go
put
in
it
there
on
in
your.
style.
You can put it on your arm.
if you put one on each cheek but put them sideways, they'll look like they're giving you the goatsy.
You can put it on your arm and then get a tattoo of the outline of it, and then have your artist fill in the rest.
1 out of 5 dentists recommend it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for today.